Welcome to Community Cuts, live from Brooklyn, New York. NYC is in the house. We're hosted by SALON LEAHING. If you're looking for a beautician, if you're looking for a barber, you come to the right place. Let me give you their telephone number and just tell them that Duke sent you. It's 718-230-4100. Again, 718-230-4100. Thank you. Open up for us, Sharon.
Good evening, everybody. I think I'm just going to introduce myself and everybody else will introduce themselves. So my name is Sharon Nedderburn. I am a Crown Heights native, making her home once again in Crown Heights. But for a few years, my home was in Prospect Heights. I do a number of things, but the thing that I spend a lot of time is being a member of Community Board 8.
Greetings. My name is Reshonah Bennett, co-founder of BK Crypto. I'm here to educate and elevate the people about the wealth transfer and the fourth revolution.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Maltzby. I'm originally from Connecticut, actually, but I've been in Prospect Heights since college, actually, so a long time. And I have a background in entertainment marketing, and I've been in crypto since 2017 as well. And I'm co-founder of BK Crypto.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Dillan. I'm the co-founder of BK Crypto.
That's from Crown Heights, I
I've
forgot.
been doing this for about 7 years, and we have a passion to teach the community about cryptocurrency. And it's something that we feel is very important for our people to be aware of. It is very important. And I just a mini crypto, and that's about it. The crypto, 1,000%. Thank you.
I forgot to say, I'm also part of Brooklyn, born and raised. I'm from Crown Heights, so that's where I spend most of my days. So thank you.
So, one of the things that we've been talking about, we can't stop talking about, is the election results. So for the first time in a very long time, the Republicans control the executive branch, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. And it's interesting because a lot of us were hoping that the leader of the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives would actually have become the speaker. He too is a Crown Heights native, Hakeem Jeffries, and he has shown time and time again how he can keep a caucus well in coordination with one another. They are disciplined, there is a vision, and as he is clearly stating now, because there were pocketbook issues that we believe caused the election results, things are more expensive, but you have to understand the cycle. One of the things with crypto is that, it's a tool by which people can expand their portfolio because you have to be able to have money of your own. I'm a traditional investor, and crypto, it's something that a lot of people don't know about. But one of the reasons we're talking about pulling something else into your portfolio is that any time that we've had, and I believe I am absolutely correct, when you have a Republican president, shortly thereafter, you have a recession. And how do you, saving is not the only way to make sure that you're okay. How do you hedge against something like that, right? So you look at your traditional investments, right? You look at it, you save, of course, you have a 401k, of course, that's invested in the market for the most part. And by the market, I mean in stocks and bonds, right? Many people treat their homes as an investment. It's great for those of us that have been in Brooklyn for a long time. People now realize how special Brooklyn is, and our homes have increased in value substantially, but that comes with another price. Your taxes have also gone
right.
up, So, you're looking at a way by which, how do I make myself whole and understanding what the signals are, because it's not just the financial markets. The stocks don't go up and down by themselves. Bond prices don't go up and down by themselves. They look at what's going on in the world at large. Things that can change, we saw what the market looked when we had a crash in 2008, right? And that was devastating because banks were over leveraged and they couldn't meet their obligations, right? And when you have something like the Federal Reserve Bank, because that's one of the things the new administration would also like to have some control over, the Federal Reserve Bank. And it was very clear. The chair of the Fed was like, oh no, there's no authority here, and he expects to be in his role until the end of his tenure. So that's, a stabilizing force, right?
Mhm.
But the other thing that you have to look at, vis-a-vis with the elections, the announced Trump cabinet members, right?
Right.
And when we look at the announced cabinet members, the question that we always ask as an ordinary citizen who casts their vote, right? How did they get picked with no expertise in these particular issues? And the rest of the world is looking at us, and I'm sure many nails are being bitten because when you form your alliances, so you talk about financial markets, it's worldwide. People talk about how bad it is in the United States, but we're faring far better than many other nations. People will talk about the price of gas, but the price of gas has always been higher in Europe. Therefore, they've had the smaller cars. Therefore, you have the reliance in bicycles, using
Right.
their own kind of different kinds of transportation, which are not necessarily applicable here because the United States is so vast, right? And, we live in a compact city, but if you live on the West Coast, if you live in Los Angeles has so much sprawl, you could be driving for an hour and you're still in town,
Right.
And that's not necessarily the case, but I don't know. With the changes in speed limits now, it takes a long time to go down Atlantic Avenue, but I jest.
That's a good one.
But in all seriousness, because these three have the expertise in crypto, so I'm going to sit back a little bit and learn from them. So they want to increase the literacy about that particular currency to people in Brooklyn, because the people that are close to us. But, give us an overall, what made you guys decide that you were going to form this? How did you get involved in crypto? How are you using crypto? Who are the people that you've encouraged in crypto? And here's the real test. Can you get the granny on the block to buy crypto?
100%.
We have a few people in the group who are in their 60s,
70s.
70s. Yeah, a few. So, I said we have a few people in the group who are in their 60s and 70s. So, and we also have some who just turned 21, 22. So it runs the gamut. Yeah. Really, we all got into crypto organically and independently. We were seeking information back in 2017. I had heard about it. Even in 2010, someone had come to me asking for my thoughts on it. I honestly thought it was like a penny stock at the time. And so I said, no, and so I didn't do anything.
Explain to people what penny stocks are.
Penny stocks in the traditional stock market, they really are companies that don't have much value, and you can generally lose a lot of money by investing in them. Okay. So
they continue to lose value.
Yeah.
No utility behind it.
Well, just like a lot of crypto, right?
Correct. Right.
Anywho, so I had not researched cryptocurrencies until 2017 because it kept coming around in the news cycle. And so I said, let me just start a bit of research. And so in doing that, a friend actually saw her at the bookstore and overheard a conversation. And she said, oh, you mentioned cryptocurrency, I believe, right? And also a friend was ill.
May it rest in peace.
Yeah. And so, but I went to a meeting, which was an early meeting for BK Crypto. They were just starting to have a meeting. He had founded the company. Anyway, well, he founded the group. We found the company together, right? Okay. But anyway, so we were I walked into this meeting, right? This might have been your second meeting, right? Yeah. And I announced my name, and she said, did you work at Sony? And I said, yeah. And I'm like, who is this girl? And she says, wait, what's your name? Did you work with Patra? And I was like, yeah. And so I said, okay, this person clearly knows me. And so we realized that she had been on a tour date, that some guy had produced. And so that was like, oh, okay, great. This is someone who I know, a real person. And then they knew each other. They realized they knew each other. It's just a very organic coming together. And then our other partner was a classmate. I guess he's alumni of Brooklyn Tech as well, along with her. So people, we all just knew each other organically and found each other on the crypto platforms or in the crypto space.
I think that's one of the things that's really changed is that the information about finances and how to manage your finances. You know, I come from a very traditional family where you save your money, right? And then, you know, like, what is this? A mutual fund? Maybe it's an annuity,
Yes.
right? So, you know, part of how you learn how to invest, and when I say invest, to increase your money so you can live the lifestyle that you desire and be comfortable when you can no longer work, right? It comes from having networks of people. Hey, listen, have you thought about laddering your CDs, right? There are a lot of homes where they
100%.
don't have those conversations. So I love the idea of an organic getting together. So you guys decide to get together. You're going to talk about crypto, but what motivated you to invest in crypto initially? I would really be interested.
Sure. Well,
Let him start.
Yeah. Definitely.
I would probably say, just the actual research.
Oh, that's not working.
Okay. Yeah, I'm saying. Go ahead. Thank you. What made me get into crypto was the fact that it was just a lot of research I did. I was watching this video online in 2017. I was home, I had a surgery, so I was home resting, right? And then I saw this guy called Ian Bellina talking about money and this crypto thing, right? I heard about Bitcoin a few years before because I was into technology a lot. But again, I wasn't aware of it that much. I just heard about it. But for some reason, this guy really caught my attention. And I went down the rabbit hole and I never came back out. Like, I literally didn't come back out because when it clicks in your mind, something changes and it never goes back, right? Because you realize, it makes you realize the whole system, the money system, and how it affects everything else. And then once I found that out, I was all in. I went crazy about this. I would all night, I was studying all day, all night. You almost get obsessed with it, literally obsessed. Anyone who's done crypto for like a couple of years, they will tell you it's obsessive.
Would you say it's the devaluing of the currency?
That was the biggest one for me. The fact that he said that the thing with inflation, right, is that if your salary is not going up at the same rate of inflation, you're literally losing money, right? So the money that's in the bank just sitting there doing nothing is losing value about 3-4% every year, literally, right? So most people don't even know that. It's called the invisible tax, right? So when I heard this, it's like, okay, it really pulls you, like, I got to change something for myself, my family. And then that was it. I never came back out.
But that's the thing that I think people are concerned about. Would an investment hold value? Because, you know, someone, even when they start, it's like, you know, and I don't know how much because I don't know what the entry point is. So say I have an extra $400 at the bottom of my checking account. Can I get into crypto? And then some people would be like, and will I get my money back? So can you talk about how you enter? Okay.
So this is simplify it, of course. So we try to make things simple. We try to simplify things, right? I think that people, when they see a different type of asset to invest in, they complicate things. It's just the way of entry. It's like a stock. Right now we have fractional investment. So you think about Apple and Google and Amazon. Before you couldn't buy fractional stocks, right? And now you can. So when you think about crypto, it's a digital asset. It's fractional. So if you have $400, I like to say this: if you put $400 in a bank, will it grow? No. If you have a high yield savings account, will $400 grow? Depending on, yes, maybe 4.2%. But in crypto, yes. If depending on the asset that you choose, and we always like to say, choose the top 5 or 10, because not financial advice, but those are the most solid. Those are your Googles and your Amazons and your Facebook. So if you're looking at the Bitcoin or Ethereum or XRP, because they're being used worldwide and globally. So it's just a strategic placement. So your $400 placed in Bitcoin, if it was in 2017, we got in, it was $9,000. Now Bitcoin itself on a fractional level is $93,000. Would your $400 have grown?
I think so.
Do you understand?
And we wrote it down.
And we wrote it down to 3,000. So
But still bought at that time.
And another thing I want to say to that point is that we always say, always invest what you're willing to lose. Please, this is not a get rich. This is about wealth building. And if you look at the history of what the Rothschilds would do, is a book that we also recommend to read, is building wealth it's generational. It's long term. What you're also seeing in the market and what they're advertising too is also a fear tactic. We don't really invest in or condone something called meme coins, like a penny stocks. We're looking at something solid that's pretty much going to be international and sustainable. When you think about El Salvador took a risk and decided to bid on Bitcoin to pay off his debt.
The debt of the country.
Of the country, excuse me, of the country.
First country to pay off their debt to the
IMF.
Wow.
Yes, because they invested in Bitcoin.
So just to your point of asking how we got into it, it's the same thing because we all connected. There's something that has to click. Like when you shared, your mother looked at you as the financier. Something inside you intuitively was like, I like finances, right? There's something about numbers. When you observe your surroundings, your neighborhood, I remember Bloomberg watching Eastern Parkway and seeing them literally paint bicycles. And I said, something's about to change.
Right.
Are we paying attention
Right.
to what's changing, or are we moving in fear on the propaganda?
Right.
They always say, what is it? Money flows where it's treated best. So if we know that when it comes to investing in assets to build a wealth, and we're looking at tech and how it's advanced and evolving, even the monetary system, it's not for you, like you said before, to get afraid of crypto. It's to understand tech and how to make it part of your portfolio, like AI. It's not to get afraid of the evolution. It's to be part of it and make it work for you.
More importantly, it's important to reach out to research cryptocurrencies, research it, because the banks, while they were telling you not to invest,
100%.
they've been investing. Chase in particular has been investing since 2013. And they were all the while they were telling you don't go invest. It's because they were late to the party, so they had to dissuade the masses from getting in, because they need to get in and get their positions, and then they'll say, yes, you can come in, and now you can come in under an ETF, and so we get to take a cut of that.
What's an
Fractionalization.
What's an ETF?
It's an electronic traded fund. Exactly.
So it looks like a
this is-
mutual fund to the average Joe.
Exactly. And these are instruments that, they're corporate controlled. Okay. So whereas if you got directly into Bitcoin, Ethereum, you hold it yourself. You're not paying somebody for their holding it for you. You're not paying any fees outside of your transaction fees for using it. Yeah.
Wait, so Rickie's behind you.
Let me get it.
Hey, Rickie.
Hi, Ms. Waterbury and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rickie James. I've been on podcasts for a while. The issue I am interested in is the euro dollar. The world is going broke. They changed currency from rubles. All that in Greece, Italy,
Yeah.
no more. Now it's all rules, and you know how Brooklyn likes to travel. You know how they like to get on the plane and go, and everything is euro now. What is the meaning of it, and how does crypto fall into play with that, with the federal government, ladies and gents?
Each country is, yeah. Oh, yeah, we could go, okay, Ansel. Each country is different, but even more than the euro dollar, you have the BRICS, which is really coming in strong.
Again, talk about what the bricks are.
Okay. BRICS is a currency that's being created by various African countries, Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, India, exactly, and
British,
a few Brazil, true, and I hear a few Caribbean countries are looking for admittance as well. So people are realizing that our national currencies are being devalued because all the currencies work on the same fractional reserve practice that the United States, encouraged the other countries to do. Okay. And it's broken. Because the countries can create as much money as they want. It's not backed by anything.
So you're talking about the inflationary pressures,
yes,
and the ability to print money.
yes,
And
yes,
the printing of money devalues a currency.
yes,
So when you walk into a country, right, like, you go to the Caribbean and you see a liter of Coca-Cola and the price is $35,000, right? And when you convert it back to American dollars, because it's like $35,000, how much could that be?
Correct.
And you do what the exchange rate is, right? And it's like, oh, That's $3.50, So I don't know what the exchange is now. So that's just an example, but it's so much more, right? But think about how that naturally devalues what you own, right? But the things of people, the banks, of course, have to be federally insured. If you have securities, they have SEPA, securities industry, so there's some sort of guarantee. Even if you have a bad broker, there's some sort of guarantee. You have to go to arbitration, FINRA, with securities. But there's no court of arbitration with crypto. Is that something
not yet, but
so talk about that.
It's happening. But I want to know, how can we get our partner Ansel? He's our micro guy, and he just has some really good insight to some of the questions. Can he on the phone? How do we do that?
And so you want to talk? Go ahead. Can we hear you?
Hey guys, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. So they posed a really good question. If you don't mind asking that again, I think it was really good understanding about the inflation of the dollar and the exchanges of the euro.
And the euro.
And because when it comes to cryptocurrency and the things right now, we know with the regular traditional banking system, you have all the insurance, right? The FDIC insured, which gives people more confidence, right? So on a macro level, just talking about in itself or what's really happening, can you just break down on a macro level what's really happening?
Okay, so on a global level, what ends up happening is the dollar is the world reserve currency, right? So when the US catches a cold, the rest of the world catches a flu. What this means is, as our money is inflated, the last couple of years, we've had an average of 10% inflation for the dollar. So what that means, the rest of the world, whether it's Germany, UK, Libya, countries in Africa, their currencies have been inflated even more. Nigeria, for instance, right? Nigeria, over the last couple of years, their currency has inflated something around 90%. So this is what happens when you have a global central banking system. Currencies are inflated. Countries are willing to drive up their debt and print more money. So the price of things are not really going up. It's the devaluation of the currency in each country that's going down. So
So the question is, how does the euro dollar play in to this, since everyone's running to BRIC and Bitcoin?
The euro dollar plays the same in it. What BRICS has done, the difference with BRICS is BRICS has said, we're tired of the US dollar hegemony. So what we are going to do business in each other's currency. Hence, Saudi Arabia got off the dollar standard for buying oil, right? And what that has done is every single other country, whether it's China, Russia, South Africa, Brazil, all of the countries that are in BRICS, they now can pay for those goods and services, whether it's oil or what have you, whatever trade there is, they can pay in their own currency. And what that does is it helps these countries to not have the inflated price per se, because now oil is not necessarily priced in dollars. It's an equal amount across whatever country it is. So it makes it cheaper for each country to do business in their own currency. So if we have a global central banking system, right? Again, we have the US Federal Reserve. We have a Federal Reserve office in every single state, right? Across the globe, we have what's called the Bank of International Settlements. They are the ones that are at the head of this global central banking structure. So you have countries in the Caribbean, countries in Africa that are not part of that central banking system. That's why we call many of the population of the globe, we call them underbanked. It's because most people can't even afford to have a bank account. So when you have these things at play, when you have inflation at play, when you have countries devaluing their currency, what happens is assets tend to grow and they look larger than they are. So it's not necessarily the inflation per se, but it's a country devaluing their dollars. Again, simple math, simple thing to look at, right? How much was 100?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
How much did $100 of groceries prior to COVID 2019, when you went in that grocery store and you had $100, how much groceries did you have compared to now? People would say, hey, that's inflation, things have got more expensive. No, it's a devaluation of currency, because the reality is during COVID, we printed half the dollar supply of what we printed since the inception of the United States. Literally. So that's where you get to every single year since then. There's been at least 10% inflation. When the money supply grows, our purchasing power reduces.
Correct.
So the price of homes get higher. The price of groceries get higher. All the things that we do on a regular basis, we pay more for it because our dollars are being devalued. And that's essentially what's happening on a global scale.
Okay. Well,
So
thank you.
So, but no, because I want you to tie that into. So now, how does that tie into now crypto, more so Bitcoin? Because there's a correlation now of how they're trying to save their spending powers and to enhance it by pushing it into another asset. Can you add that part in to why Bitcoin became the new craze now?
So with Bitcoin, what Bitcoin says, Bitcoin has its own monetary policy, meaning every country has their monetary policy. We've seen the Federal Reserve increase rates. We've seen the Federal Reserve reduce rates. All of those things. Those are what's called monetary policies for each country. What Bitcoin says is we have a set supply of 21 million Bitcoin, right? So right now, the total circulating supply is around 19,500,000. The last Bitcoin will be produced by 2141. So each 4 years, we go in these cycles of Bitcoin being reduced, the supply that's pushed out there every single day being reduced. Right now, we have about 164,000 Bitcoin produced per month. So 2 companies alone, we have MicroStrategy, right? That's saying for the next 3 years, we are going to buy about 167,000 Bitcoin. We have a bill in Congress right now. Senator Cynthia Lummis from Wyoming put forward a Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Bill. That bill says the United States will buy 200,000 Bitcoin per year. So in the US and MicroStrategy alone, we have 2 entities that are buying up more than the supply of Bitcoin that are created per year. What does that do? What does that do? That increases demand.
Supply chain.
Again, 21 million. There's over 60 million millionaires in this entire planet. We don't even have 1 Bitcoin each for those millionaires to buy. Think about that.
Yeah, they can. Yeah.
And that is the proposition of Bitcoin.
Ready?
Travel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ansel.
Well, is that going to be an issue? Will that be an issue? Oh, did he left? That is only, will that be an issue? As far as people who are not billionaires or millionaires purchasing Bitcoin?
So put the mic underneath.
You gotta hold it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ansel.
I would say that would not necessarily be an issue. Why? Because there are different entities in this market that are interested in doing different things. There are some people that come into the market to just trade, meaning, hey, if Bitcoin goes from 60 to 70,000, I'm going to trade it and cash out, right? So we've just had this past January, ETF approved. There were 11 ETF approved by Van Eck, by BlackRock, by Fidelity. These are companies that traditionally hold what? They hold 401k plans, 403b plans, right? So these are companies with big time money. BlackRock alone is the biggest asset manager in the world with about $9 to $10 trillion of assets under management. So what that means with these ETFs now, these entities, these companies are going to start to put Bitcoin into the portfolios of 401k plans, 403b plans, or whatever retirement plan. And you won't even know it. That's the reality of this. Most people will be investing in Bitcoin and they won't even know it. Correct. Because again, if I'm BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF portfolio just surpassed its gold ETF portfolio. To break that down,
In terms of
BlackRock
value yield.
has had its IBIT portfolio for 10 months versus their gold portfolio, their gold stocks, where they invest in gold for their clients. They've had that since about 2008. 10 months versus 2008, and their Bitcoin portfolio ETF has surpassed their gold portfolio. Think about that.
Yep.
So again, in this market is very liquid. There's going to be some people that are in it for trading. There's going to be others that's going to hold for the long term. And we just had Bitcoin spot options approved. We've just had the CBOE approve options as well. So all of these investment vehicles are being created by all of these companies that are into Bitcoin right now. So what that does, it changes hands. It just continues changing hands. But what happens is, what price are you going to pay for it? Are you going to pay $99,000 where it is now? Or a year from now, are you going to pay $250,000?
That's the case.
So what actually is
That's
the
the
support
reality.
for the market? Because that's what people will be concerned about, because is it the creation of, because currency we know is not based on the gold standard like it once was, right?
No.
So you're printing paper essentially, right?
Sure.
So we know the devaluation of the dollar becomes, rather the rise and fall of inflation and other global factors, right? So we can see the great increase in Bitcoin valuation, but what's the downside and what's the support? The support for the dollar, right, means that if there is a need, the Fed can print more money. Now we know eventually that will end in devaluation, right, disinflation, right? But if you look at Bitcoin, what moves it up and what moves it down? Because someone would say that you're really manipulating the supply of the Bitcoin in the market. So what's the support?
So I would say to that, you can't manipulate the supply of Bitcoin. It's static. It's set. What you can do is it can change hands. And that's what it does on a daily basis. You have people buying and you have people selling, right? But what you can manipulate is the amount of dollars that's in the system, that's fluctuating in the system. Again, we just printed half of the entire supply of US dollars in the last 4 years. That's what's manipulation, right? But we know I can go on CoinGecko, Coinbase, or whatever these sites. I know exactly the amount of Bitcoin that's in circulation. The only difference is it changes hands. Somebody else may pay higher for it. Somebody else may pay less for it. But if you go and ask the Federal Reserve how many dollars are in circulation, they wouldn't be able to tell you. right around 2020, they stopped reporting on how much dollars they were putting into the system, right? And the foundation of what Bitcoin is the more holders you have, that's what sets the floor. So right now, at where we're at, it's at $99,000, right? And this is a thing that we have to learn. In any new market, volatility is not a feature, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's the same way when the stock market was started in 1903, right? It was at that point, there were not a lot of investors. But when you have a market that's saturated, what happens is you don't get a lot of volatility.
You don't.
You want to be in a market that has volatility because that is your promise or at least your chance for any type of real growth.
It's like a child.
You know, we put our monies into 401k plans. When you look out, when you do the numbers, when you do how much fees they take out, it's almost like 50-50 in terms of what you put in and the fees they've taken out. And that's what people don't realize. You will be better off taking that money on your own and investing in stocks and what have you on your own. But it's not only Bitcoin, right? It's also the stocks, right? So what we're seeing is we're at a point of shift in how the world does business. The world is going more digital. You talk about Cash App, you talk about Venmo, you talk about PayPal. These are all digital wallets. Zelle, these are all digital wallets. The world is moving faster and faster towards digital. Now we have AI coming.
Really.
We have AI coming.
Touching on that really quickly. You probably heard that China, they all use their phone for transactions, but the same thing's been happening in Kenya for like 15 years. Okay. It's in Northern Europe. I believe it's Sweden.
Yeah.
Denmark.
Cashless.
They don't use cash.
Yeah. But also I'll say this. Also I'll say this much, right? Is that people don't realize there's a company called Swift. You know what Swift is?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Swift is the one that takes care of all the cross-border payments, right? So Swift is run by the U.S. government, right? Now, again, Swift is the one who normally puts sanctions on people, right? Like Iraq, Iran, because again, right? So having Bitcoin, right? There's no one owns Bitcoin. So, example, a country like Haiti, right? Or like Iran, if I have Bitcoin and I can transact with Bitcoin with other countries, your sanctions have no really effect on me because I don't have to use the U.S. currency to buy whatever I want to buy, right? So these are some of the things that I think people don't really realize, that the government is using the U.S. dollar for control. Literally, it's control people, right?
Well, I mean, you think about the IMF fund, right? And just in terms of, less developed countries. And
Correct. Exactly.
The same thing. I mean, that's one of the things that Michael Manley, who was a prime minister of Jamaica, in the mid 70s, he's like, I want all the capitalists out, right? And Jamaica was punished for it, right? Brutally punished because there was hyperinflation and the inability to get any goods and services, right? So, but it's, who has the gold rules? And essentially, it sounds like Bitcoin, right, is a new standard. Once upon a time, dollars were on a gold standard 100%. And you couldn't print more money than you had for gold.
Correct.
Right. So what Nixon, so that's 50 years ago that they took us off the gold standard. So, what are you saying? But when we come back, we want to come back to like the United States and what's going on with the politics. I mean, a lot of people were very angry because buying groceries, I told the story previously that when we had when the price of eggs went crazy, right?
Yes.
And, it's like, eggs are the easiest, simplest, least expensive way to make a breakfast, right? To have a protein breakfast, you scramble a couple of eggs. So eggs became the Sunday meal, all right?
Right.
And then the perversity of the market is, because that's one of the things that you're avoiding with Bitcoin, the perversity of the market is being able, the cheapest place to buy eggs was what's known to be an expensive grocery store, Whole Foods. How does that happen? It's a control about the supply, and where their vendors, who they're buying from. So that's interesting in terms of contracting as well.
Or going to a farm.
So,
And that's what's changing things too now.
Yeah. I have a question.
so what I would say,
Go ahead, answer.
Angela, she had a
Hold on.
question. Hold on a second.
Go ahead,
She got a question.
I have a question about, now I've been hearing a lot about this. A friend of mine had got me into crypto and everything. And I've been hearing a lot about if you decide not to do the crypto, right, that the government will have control over your money.
CBDCs, yes.
Yeah, or they'll give you a certain, they'll
Um,
give you like a stipend every month, or like a paycheck.
Universal
Yeah.
basic
Now,
income.
is that true or not?
UBI. Yes, it's called UBI. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
UBI. That's what it's called.
It's very true.
What does it stand for?
Yes.
Universal basic income.
Universal basic.
income.
So it is true.
Yes.
Well, there's talk, but it's not.
Remember?
Okay.
Because, for example, in the last election cycle, mayoral election cycle, Andrew Yang, who was a candidate for mayor, was a proponent of having a universal basic income.
Yes.
And we've had that idea introduced into the country a couple of times. In the 60s, there were two professors at Columbia University, Piven and Cloward, right? And they basically tried to break New York City by telling us, like, come to New York City, you will be able to receive these welfare benefits, right? And, because there's a need for basic income, come one, come all.
Wow.
And by trying to break New York City, right, and New York City's finances, historically, blew up in the 70s, right? Because they wanted to make a case for universal basic income. They've had experiments in smaller entities like in Seattle, but in New York, that didn't work out for us, and I guess it's timing and our debt. And I think it's very ironic. The person who built up all the debt as control of New York City was mayor of New York City when the whole shit blew up, right? But, do you understand? And that's Abraham B., right? So do you understand how having a basic income, people see that as something that's strange. They see it as socialism. They say it as communism. But Bernie Sanders also was a big proponent of universal basic income. Because fact of the matter is, there is a certain minimum amount of money you need to be able to live, right?
Correct.
And do we really think of social welfare, or do we think of welfare of society as whole? Or is this communism? Is this people not wanting to work and living off the hard labor of other people? I mean, the things that are being said about that, so it's interesting, because when you say UBI, use it as a sanction, instead of being used as a benefit, it's now proposed to be a weapon,
Correct.
and a weapon of control.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well said.
What,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was
What,
just thinking because I was in.
sorry, go ahead, Kim.
No, I was in Denmark over the summer, and I was surprised to learn that regardless of your income, if you have a child, you're given like a few $1,000s a month. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, I thought it was crazy.
Yeah, you're
I was like,
that
and
is
for
true.
each child for a certain number of years, like even if you're doing very well.
So one of my friends,
Shocked.
her husband described childcare. First you pay your mortgage, then you pay your childcare. Just in terms of expense, right? And even when you look at, because one of the things in terms of the election, I was very concerned as who the president-elect has nominated to be the Secretary of Education. And this is, her name is Linda McMahon. And her claim to fame is that she and her husband founded WWE, right? She had purported that she had an educational degree she had a degree in education, but she's never done anything with education. So you look at terms of like the social programs that were put forth, like Head Start,
Yes.
like pre-K, like Title I money that gives poor districts the opportunity to have funding for their schools, their books, their teachers, and after school, which we know provides a better outcome scholastically. So seeing the possibility of all of those things being pulled away is scary, right? And who it's a matter of, we're becoming the owners, being ruled by the owners of capital, right? And because if you look at the outsized influence of the billionaires on the election, for example, neither the Washington Post nor the Los Angeles Times made an endorsement for a presidential candidate. And this is the Washington Post. The Washington Post certainly has been doing that throughout my lifetime. So, you know, you have a first for fear of retribution, right? You have something like Morning Joe on MSNBC, and you have the two hosts of MSNBC who had been talking about how he operated politically like Hitler, right? His ideology, but they went down to Mar-a-Lago to have a conversation. Now, it's important to have access because you can't report on news if you don't have access to information. But are people making sure, or the news media industry making sure that they have an ability to talk to the president for fear of being shut out of all kinds of news altogether? So, you know, markets operate on information, markets operate on influence. So, you know, what's going to happen here? And do you see crypto as a possible hedge?
Yes, yes, and yes.
What
Go ahead.
what I would rebuttal that, right, is to say us as Americans, we're very privileged, right? But we also have to understand this is no longer just an American economy. This is a global economy. What runs the global economy is the global central banking system. It's called, the top office at the top is the Bank of International Settlements. I think it's in like Italy or Spain, right? And they set out the orders to all the other central banks. Now, the US has great influence because, again, we have the dollar that sets the standard, right? But the powers that be are beyond the US borders. And what happens in this country happens in so many other countries. And again, this is why BRICS has gotten larger and larger, because these countries are tired of the US and the BIS setting the global standards, right? So what Bitcoin is, and what Bitcoin came around to be, it is the first time in human history that you have something that separates the state it separates money from the state. Money, all money in the world, all other money in the world is controlled by what? It's controlled by the state. The Canadian dollar is controlled by Canada. The US dollar is controlled by the US. The whatever currency in the Caribbean, whatever currency in Africa, every single country, their currency is controlled by the government. And again, each government gets to set whatever monetary policy they have. Last year, Lebanon was facing economic crisis. And you know what they wanted to do? They said, we are going to devalue our currency 90% so that we can qualify for an IMF loan. For an IMF loan. So you mean to tell me if I have 100,000 Lebanese dollars in my account, by the end of this, I'm only going to have 10,000 Lebanese dollars in my account.
That's close for
right?
political unrest.
And what?
Exactly, it is. Go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's how they literally steal our wealth, right? So you have a country like El Salvador that was the most crime-ridden, that was the poorest country in the world for decades. But until they said, we will incorporate Bitcoin as legal tender, meaning people can transact in Bitcoin, until they said that, nobody paid attention to them. And you know what? If Bitcoin hits $100,000, you know what El Salvador will be able to do? Pay off their IMF debt.
Oof, like that. Yep.
They no longer become a slave to the system.
Yeah, it is.
Right? I have friends when it was this was, what was it, 2020, 2021, when the Taliban were coming back to Afghanistan. I have a friend, he said, my friend, he left Afghanistan with the clothes on his body. But because he had Bitcoin and he knew that his passcode. He knew his 12-word phrase passcode. He was able to get out of Afghanistan and go to another country, recreated his Bitcoin wallet, and he was able to have his money to spend.
Yes.
That's the power of this. It's a life raft. It's a life raft. The Canadian truckers protest
They got
of
paid
a
in
couple of
Bitcoin.
years ago, about 2 years ago, if you remember the Canadian truckers protest, what did they do? These guys were protesting because they felt like their wages should be more. And what did the government do? They shut down their account.
Exactly.
They couldn't get anything in. You know what got into them? Bitcoin.
Yep.
You go to Nigeria, when the young people protested at the toll booths, and about 200 of them got killed. You know who sent in money for them to be able to withstand that protest? People that held Bitcoin. It goes on and on and on, no matter what event in every country, where every country, again, currency is owned by the government. But Bitcoin says all you need is a damn wallet. And I can send you some money where you can live out your lives. Ukraine war, when Ukraine and Russia first broke off, people that were able to get out of Ukraine, what did they do? They had Bitcoin wallets. They were able to go to a car dealership, buy a car, and exit stage left. This is the power of Bitcoin. You can't do that with gold. You can't do that with any other country. I'm Guyanese. I have cousins in Guyana. I can send my cousin $1,000 worth of Bitcoin in the wallet, and he can go exchange it at the local Bitcoin dealer and have money to do what he needs to do without what is it called? The Western Union? Without
money.
The other one, you can do it. You don't need permission. And that's the value of Bitcoin.
That's the question.
Again, right now we're in price discovery. Where people have to understand there's going to be a time period that we're in right now where people have to discover the true price of Bitcoin. What is its value? What is its true value? What is it worth?
Yeah.
So it's not just about paying groceries. It's about being in a country where you might have a totalitarian government and you need to get out.
Yeah.
But they control your currency so they can freeze your bank account, but they can't freeze your Bitcoin.
Yep.
Argentina.
What's that? So, you have anything to say, Reshonah? One second. Go ahead, Reshonah.
No, I agree with you. But historically, it's happened in Zimbabwe. This happened in Argentina. This happened in Italy as well, and they froze people's bank account. And we talk about, and I'm going to keep it real. We talk about the FDIC in short, but let's talk about this. If there's another pandemic and people are going for their money, everyone's not getting their money. So FDIC is not really insuring everyone's money. It sounds good.
It's called the run of the bank.
You run on the
Yes, the background.
Thank you. Right. But it's just, if we're having a real open conversation, everyone's looking for security and stability. We're just talking about diversify to see if you can protect yourself the best way possible while things are inflated, while things are moving in an economy that seems uncertain. There are ways that you can protect yourself, but you have to be keen and educate yourself. But like you said, connect yourself with a community. There's a game being played. And what is the best strategy for your family? And understanding, also sustaining that and the legacy that you want to create and sustain, because it's not moving in fear. History repeats itself, and people still survive and they live. But how did they live? Because they strategized and understood the movements. And let's think about China. So we're new on this QR code. We're new to whole digital FICO scores. China has been digital for a very long time. Literally, I think it was WePay. Literally, WeChat.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin crypto was it was accessible in China. So China was like, I'm shutting it down. No more crypto, no more Bitcoin, no more WeChat. The people went underground. That was like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
What did China just pass down? You see it in the news? They just confirmed they legalized Bitcoin.
It's
for the average person.
For the average person. And you know why? Because any country or ruler to do that is because they can't control it. So let's talk about history and the evolution of technology. What happened in 1999 when World Wide Web happened. Okay? And everyone's going, the world is over. You're gonna die, right? No.
Exactly, yeah.
It was the Antichrist, Y2K.
Yeah.
And all it was introducing is how we communicate. We were doing emails. But if you think about history, when you think about the military created this in like the 1950s or 60s. We're just seeing it publicly. So now you had the World Wide Web, snail mail became email. Mm-hmm. Then we advanced where we can now see movies on our laptop. Mm-hmm. We can get on our phone.
Yeah.
It's digitized. And now we're in the Web3 where now we can basically have cash transactions. Interaction with monetary movement. We have to think about evolution. Mm-hmm. Yes. Why we get stuck? Because we don't think about evolution. When we think about the payphones, Crown Heights, let's talk about you paying $0.25 to go to Verizon payphone. Do you see a payphone anywhere, anybody?
No.
No more. Even more serious than that, like take, for example, what's now known as the MetLife building, right? So that's a junction between Grand Central Station and Park Avenue, Park Avenue companies, right? When I say there was a bank of private telephone booths, right? So, if you're looking for a job, you want to talk to a dude on your lunch hour, right? People drop quarters, and some people will be drop quarters. That doesn't exist anymore, right?
Right.
But it creates a whole different level of transactions.
Mm-hmm.
Dropping something in the wallet, something. I am a rabid New York Liberty fan, right? Mm-hmm. And before you want to share tickets with someone, you have to meet them and exchange the ticket. Now it's like, okay, these are the tickets I have in my account. I'm going to transfer it to this account. Oh, you have received a ticket for such and such a game from so and so. Would you accept? Boop. Would you like to put it in your wallet? Boop. You go into the Barclays Center, you hold out your phone, boop, you're in, right? It just in terms of efficiencies, so you're seeing that. But technology, we're still worried about security, right? We're still worried about not being tracked. Like I hear losing your key is big in Bitcoin.
100%.
So talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah.
I love it. Talk about it. Bring it up, because you know what?
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
100%. But let's also connect that with also the money laundering that's still happening with paper money, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Oops. Because I love that. But what people start getting, I want you to ask the question, but if we're going to have a truthful conversation about losing your keys, that is a fact.
Yes.
But I want the audience to know, in every evolution, there's going to be some type of chaos and loss. Did you stop living and breathing? Did you stop buying food? I had to say that because the way that propaganda is marketing, and for our community, we're so scared we can't even make a move.
Well, I don't know if it's scared or it's the absence of knowledge, the absence of access. Because we talk about how communities.
Yes,
we talk about how communities provide information. We were talking earlier about how we learned. The way you learned was you get your money, you have like a school bank account, and every week you put the money in, your dad slips you a couple of dollars, your grandmother gives you some money for your birthday. You're going to put it in the bank, right? Or put some of it in the bank, spend the rest of it at the candy store, right? And you accumulate a balance where, you save your money and then you can buy something, right? Well, is it about saving or if it's investing? Well, you invest your money, then you'll get more interest than you'll get from the bank, right? If you enter the stock market or you figure out that you could get in on the initial public offering on Amazon or something like that, right? And you just ride that up and down, and down, but you get a value when you cash out of it, right? So because it's not tangible, because it's unfamiliar, because I definitely can tell you, I couldn't go to my mother or my dad and ask them about Bitcoin, right? It's having the information. So how do you ground yourself in that information?
100%. I think you have a good point about the Philly. So I also want to talk my background too. I'm a financial counselor and a financial soul healer. So I deal with financial trauma. And that deals with community. And as a financial counselor, I deal with clients day to day who wants to allocate either fixing their debt, their credit, saving, investing, and we refer them to certified financial planners. And to your point, I've had clients from anywhere between 18 to 70 something years old. And I can say that my older clients who are in their 70s because they're baby boomers and they have more liquidity, they are so open to learning.
That's great.
To learning about crypto. And I say that education is there. Why? because the information that is open is not like botanical, the encyclopedia days. It is open, it's available. We as teachers of BK Crypto educate the community because we've been passionate about it for so long. But I say this point of the financial counselor is, I do say it's fair. Why? Because a lot of us, the community, what I hear with my clients is trauma from childhood and savings, right? So if we can't break that part about I'm only saving because I'm traumatic of losing, we can't step up to the next layer. This levels to why we're not moving, even if there's a new asset to invest in. We got to break that barrier in community. I love to have this conversation because there's so much more to us and there's layers.
Oh,
And the part, I would just to add on that, the part to saving, right, is the can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. The part to saving is that we don't, just what you said just before in terms of how we've been taught, how we've been raised, which is very valid, but the majority of this current generation doesn't even understand that part. That's the reality of it. And that's what we learn as we've traveled in this space.
You mean
Because
saving in the traditional manner?
what getting into Bitcoin in
Yes.
this space teaches us, it teaches us really what is money,
Yeah.
right? So we've been grown up to say, hey, let me save for the rainy day. But what they didn't tell us is while we're saving, inflation is baked into the cake. On average, the U.S. has 3 to 4% inflation on an annual basis. So if I'm at my job and I'm only getting a 3 to 4% raise, I'm breaking even with inflation, right? Because again, inflation steals our purchasing power. So if you're only saving and you think you're going to save your way to wealth or save your way to a better day, I'm not saying that saving is a bad thing because, we have susus, we have all of these things in our communities that teaches us to save, which is a great thing. But you have to put the other side of investing into it. Because if we're saying inflation is baked into the cake at 3 to 4% per year, right? What ends up happening is you have to beat inflation on an annual basis. The only way you're going to beat inflation is through assets. Because what happens during inflationary times, which is pretty much every year, inflation favors assets. And that's the part our community needs to start to understand. Inflation favors assets, whether it's house, land, gold, Bitcoin, all of these things. You get certain returns that help you to stave off that inflation. You get certain returns to help you live above your means or live above inflationary means, right? Because again, it's baked into the United States pie. Every single year, there's 3 to 4% inflation. That's just what it is. And that means they will print those dollars to that amount on an annual basis. So you have to be able to beat that 3 to 4% to really get ahead of what's going on. And that's what most of our community doesn't realize. And that is why all these surveys and all these, research that comes out saying the Black community will have a 0% value of wealth by 2040. These are where these numbers come from, because we are the lowest at investing into assets. Point blank, period, end of story. And we have to learn that. And when you start investing into assets, you realize, again, you've got Bitcoin that gives you 120% average return year over year. You've got the stock market that gives you 13% annual return year over year. Gold is about 4 or 5%. So you can take your choice in where you want to put your money. But understand, you have to beat that inflation rate on an annual basis to get ahead of it.
I have a question before you. Anyone can answer it at any time. This is wonderful information, but it's also overwhelming. So how do people get started? an average person with an average salary, or not even that, how do we get started?
Dollar cost averaging. It's not, if you only have $5 to invest, you invest your $5, $10, whatever it is. The best thing to do is to just if you don't know what dollar cost averaging means, it means to just set your account where it takes this, whatever amount you choose out every pay period. It's that simple.
But to do that,
Yeah.
open up a Coinbase account, right? Because to do that, so Coinbase account is the same way if you have a Fidelity, a Chase that does, brokerage account. A Coinbase is regulated. They pay for the licenses to basically sell crypto. You can add your banking, right? You can add your bank account and your ID, and you'll get approved. And they have some of the top 100 coins that you can purchase. Again, always do your research first to see how much you're willing to invest in. There's so much sites that you can go on. Crypto Banter, someone that we use, Coin Bureau as well. And if you are someone that needs to be walked or handheld, which we love that as well, you can find us at bkcryptocoach.com. We have groups that we have discussions, so you're not feeling like you're by yourself. I mean, the reason why we have succeeded in this place, honestly, is the collectiveness. It's the community. Honestly, it's so much information, you get overwhelmed. However, intuitively, we knew that it's something that we had to learn to help the community. So we've talked at churches. We've done a lot of worldwide events for health fairs and wealth fairs. It's time. And because of the exchange of what's happening presidential, this is the time now collectively where we can win. And what does that win mean? What's important to you? What do you value? It's not so much about the money, right? It's about how do we increase and improve community through sustainability. And money is a tool, right? And we require that to make certain decisions. And so if we realize that in this time of ascension and elevation, we can increase our value with our investments to increase change in our community, better housing, better groceries, stores, community education. We can do this now collectively.
Okay. Yes.
This is the time now. This is the trend. The chaos is only to create better change.
Yeah, I'm new at crypto. So I started last year in 2023. So I know at first I was really afraid to do it because I've heard so many people getting scammed and out of thousands of dollars. But like she said, start small, start with $10 or $5 or even $20. Whenever you get your paycheck, instead of biting on things you don't need, put it to your crypto and watch it grow. It will grow. Depending on which crypto that you do buy. But I do have a question about hard wallets and soft wallets.
I love it.
Okay.
I have a question about that. So
What's your question?
So my question is about which is the best, because I know with soft wallets, it's on the online,
Right.
and your hard wallet is what you carry like a credit card.
Yeah.
So which is the best brand? I've seen a lot of different brands, and I have one, but I found it very, very difficult to manage and to use. It's so small and tiny. And then there was another one.
Oh, yeah, Ledger, Trezor.
Ledger. That's the one I have. I couldn't even work it. But then I saw another one called Oculus.
Yeah, Oculus, correct. Yeah.
And I thought about that one, but I haven't purchased it yet. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any of more of them out there.
There is more. There's Tangem. There's one called Aleppo. There's a couple. Yeah, there's a couple other ones out there. I mean, it's not the most user friendly. I'll say a lot of these are devices but as time goes by, I think they will get better. But it's just something that you have to deal with for now because I know they're very small and it can be a little bit hard to do. But if that's what you have to do to save your money, I mean, because again, it's offline, right? It's not online. So that's the safest way to have your crypto because there's no connection to the online world. Once you have it online, there's always, and the hackers are coming. They're here. The hackers are coming like crazy because they want your coins, right? And again, hackers wouldn't try to hack something that has no value, right? You only hack something that has value, right?
But can I ask an even basic question? So
Go ahead, talk to me.
So Bitcoin is a store of value,
There you
right?
go. Yes.
All right. It's a
One of
store.
them.
It's a right, a store
Yes.
of value, just like a dollar. It's a store of value,
Correct.
right? So what happens is like, you sell a hard asset like a house and you get money back. When you sell crypto, what do you get to spend?
I'm not clear.
So for example, like the example he uses, like his friend was able to get out of Afghanistan,
Right,
right? And he
right.
was able to establish himself in a new entity, right?
Right.
So is it a Bitcoin to Bitcoin transaction?
Yes.
Transaction.
But the supermarket doesn't take
Yes,
Bitcoin?
they do.
Really? Now
There-
explain
there are
this
ways
to
to
me.
do
different
this
ways.
in the platforms.
Explain this.
I love this. This is perfect.
Well, he said supermarket
Take Bitcoins. Yeah.
They have credit cards that are attached to your cryptocurrency wallet. Okay, so yeah,
So that would be the hard wallet or the soft wallet? Or do you take
No,
the hard
No,
wallet
explain.
into the?
So walk her through the transaction because she asked a very good question of how can I go grocery store with
Okay.
Bitcoin? Tell her how she can do that.
well, there are credit cards that you would have attached to your wallet, your cryptocurrency wallet. So you would be paying in cash, but the cash would be coming off of your wallet, off of your crypto wallet.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can get it. It's still a mind-blowing experience, right? Because
Yeah,
you're going from
yeah.
a transaction that,
Right.
sorry, you're going from a transaction, a dollar, a credit card, or even now the contactless because of the pandemic, and people that never thought of using their Apple Wallet, right? Someone
Yeah.
walked me through using my Apple Wallet because I had gone to Target without the money that I needed. You get that, hey girl, all you need to do is
Right,
this,
right,
this, and this.
Right.
Okay, all right. It works.
But I'll say this much, right? Look at this right now.
You may not want to actually sell your Bitcoin.
I mean,
Ideally, you'll work on just lending it,
I get it.
okay, or borrowing from yourself. Really, is what I'm saying. Okay.
But to your point, and as Anza was sharing about, it's transactional. I think the biggest point you were making also as well is that it's transactional. So he was able to leave because in order for them to be transactional, that means the other side has to accept it as a value,
Right.
store of value, right? Which means that if your jacket you're wearing, you're saying that this value is 10,000 and I want to buy this car and I'm like, it's 10,000, accept my car. We just did an exchange because you said it was a value. It's the same thing with Bitcoin. It's transactional. And it's so interesting because that same very question, most people didn't realize that actually was happening. And there are a lot of people, and here's to the point, America is spoiled. Let's call it that. We will not see the same things that's happening. Oh,
Privilege,
okay,
right?
privilege. We are privileged. And so what happens is, let's get real and deep on this. And I love the questions because America doesn't see the same things, experiences that other countries are experiencing. And so we don't have a connection. So we won't think that we actually really need Bitcoin until something traumatic happens.
Yes.
Like you lose your cash.
Right? No, that's what's happening. Right?
Or a war,
A war or
happens.
something. And so what we're also saying is that getting a mindset of expanding it, because America is not the end all be all. And if you are traveling internationally or if you got stopped, how would you function? Right?
Yeah.
Right? And so we always say America I say America now is a third world country. I say that because we're not expansive as we think we are until you travel outside. And so there are many countries, Mexico, Nigeria, El Salvador, who are living in the now with the evolution of technology, but also something had to happen for them to adapt to that new way of transaction or living lifestyle. What we're feeling now is that happening now. There are many people that say, because I've dealt with a lot of underserved communities now and population, those who are receiving SSI, SSD, they're limited on even them investing unless they have an ABLE account, right? And then you have those who are getting funding from the government, but they're like, how do I save? They're sitting in my seat and they're like, how do I save? And I say, you know what? I know you might be limited on what you can, but you can do $5 a day possibly, right? And to save, like we talk about saving. I think the biggest thing for us as a community, we keep thinking we need a lot of money to save and to make life changes. It's the habit. So if Cash App, you can buy Bitcoin on Cash App.
PayPal too.
And PayPal and Zelle.
Where can't you buy Bitcoin? That's the question.
That's what I'm sharing.
That's the question.
Yeah,
Now,
you
where
can
can't
actually
you
pull it
buy?
off.
With,
Because
Early days,
it's on Cash App, it's on Venmo, it's on
It's
PayPal.
everywhere.
A couple years ago, it was nowhere. Now it's everywhere. So they're making it acceptable to the average person, right? But what people don't understand, right, that Bitcoin is the only asset in the world that when the demand rises for it, you can't print anymore. Example,
Correct.
I can always split stocks. I can make more bonds.
Split your stocks, yes.
Yeah. I can
Yes.
also find more gold, right? Gold enough, right? But with Bitcoin, you can't. You can't. So what I'm saying is that there's no ceiling for really Bitcoin. Literally, there is no ceiling because you can't make any more of it at all. Simple supply and demand, right? Now it sounds very simple, right? But that's what it really is, right? So I'm just saying folks need to understand that this is a paradigm shift. It's a really paradigm shift in how you grasp the whole concept of what money is
Yes.
and where it's going, so
Mindset shift.
it is.
I would also just to add on top of that, guys. Where we're going is a point where banks have not been allowed to custody, to sell, or to buy crypto yet. Remember, over the summer, we had SBF 121. There was a bill that they were trying to pass to allow banks to buy, custody, and sell crypto. Once banks are able to buy, custody, and sell crypto in the next year to 2 years, you'll be able to spend your crypto the same way you go to the store with your debit card. Literally. That's where we're going. And again, like it or not, this administration, they understand that.
Big time.
They understand that this is how we get the U.S. to increase its GDP so we can service our debt. They see the debt as the biggest problem. The debt has reached $36 trillion, the most it's ever been in history, right? This is our debt. So the only way you counteract debt is with productivity.
Yeah.
The only way you be productive, more productive, is with new innovation. That's what happened in the dot-com boom. Remember, prior to 1998, if I told you you were going to buy all your stuff from Amazon and online and have it shipped to you, you would have told me I was crazy.
Yeah.
You would have told me I was crazy.
Yes.
That. But where are we now? Where are we now? We're getting more and more and more of our stuff from online. We're purchasing. We're becoming more digital. So if we're going into a digital society, if we're going into a digital phase, these banks see that. And they're going along as well. And that's essentially what's happening. So today, I have 2 crypto debit cards, and they're both Visa. Visa is huge in the space. MasterCard is huge in the space. But these are the things they don't tell the regular, average, everyday people. So while we see things changing, you guys don't. But the financial infrastructure of the world is changing. And it's either you change with it or you get blockbusters. It's the same way with AI, right? We don't have to like AI, but this is the world we're going into. So somehow, some way, you've got to learn how to maneuver within that space. Because remember, there used to be a time where we did horses and buggies until the cars came along. When the cars came along, what happened? It created new jobs. Why? Because you needed gas stations, you needed roads, you needed all these things to build around that infrastructure. So now we're getting to a point, we have blockchain, we have AI, we have Web3, we have all these new 3D printing, all these new technologies coming out. You have to create the infrastructure around that.
Yep.
And that creates new jobs, that generates GDP growth for your economy. So your country can compete. This is what is about to be unleashed.
Hold on.
This is what is about to be.
Hold on. Here's a question. Go ahead.
Okay, so 3 different things came up with this. One, no, we don't want the banks involved in crypto for a very key point is we want to operate outside of the banks. The banks have too much control as it is, and that's what's traumatized most of the nations in the world. So no, that's not what we want. We want the bills to actually say no, to keep two things separate. As long as you have crypto, then the banks are forced to actually respect other currency and other value that operates outside of themselves.
Right.
If they actually have too much hand and control in it, now they can start to control it from the inside. And that is not what we want, especially in an entity that's been working for the past 200 years to have such control over a global economy that is over, like it's the whole fact of us having crypto allows us to now, like, listen, bank, you're the one that told you couldn't give it a loan. You don't want to give, you give all of these communities not the ability to have any power.
Now, let me ask you a
But
question,
now
right?
banks,
Let me
okay.
ask you a question. Do you think that the average person, I'm just saying, let's be devil's advocate, right? The average person, do you think that the average person, right, like would want to put their crypto, let's say you have about $1 million, right? Do you think the average person is going to want to put their crypto on like a ledger? Probably not, right? Do you think so?
The average person at this point is between.
Right.
What you know for the past 200 years, from
Right.
which grandpa, grandma, whether for our community, one of the things that comes to your point is you've been traumatized already.
Correct.
So
yes.
the fact that we're talking about we're too privileged, we're too spoiled, but no, you're a traumatized community living in a community that is privileged. And therefore you should better be more aware that this might be the opportunity that the investments you've been making haven't really worked. So clearly there must be something that is
else,
giving
yes.
you the possibility. Now, my next, which brings me to the original point when I came up here is,
Excuse me just a second. I don't know how important this is, but we have a person commenting, and they wanted us to be sure to tell people that we are not offering financial advice. This is an education program, and I just wanted to reiterate that.
Not
understand-
do your own research.
Unfortunately, this is where we're trying to cut ourselves at the knees. We are already convinced ourselves to be so careful that we're careful out of any kind of money or any things that are going around us, period. And therefore, if we're so used to saying no, 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 and everybody's finding an excuse to say no, 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 you're still going to say no, no, no. What my solution was the process is with the children that you have today who aren't so invested in the way we've been thinking, that they wouldn't mind what's Coinbase. Okay, you put $5 in their Coinbase, you put $10.
Yes.
They don't mind. My nephews didn't mind saying, okay, here's some money, put it in this specific, invest with this, because now with that 5-10, they're going to research it themselves. They're going to look online on Google on this, that, and the third. But we're so used to saying we can't do it. Of course, I understand that, but we're okay with giving somebody else that $5, that $10. We're okay buying those kinds of gifts for someone else. That toy and this card goes together in tandem. And those small things that we're doing, even because grandma gave us the bonds back in the day, she said, here, cash this bond when you get older. But wait, here's more, because you go to the bank today and those bonds aren't worth anything. And you like, now, grandma, they told you when they took your $20, $100, that by today it should be about 1,000, maybe. I'm here today and they're like, actually, you owe me money. Now, wait a minute. Like, we can't, this is the banks that we're talking about that we're trying not to get back involved in. So with that coming back again, that full circle is for our community, specifically us, giving someone that gift, and they will always try to figure out how to use this gift, how to spend it, where am I going to cash it? You give them a Coinbase gift card and they're like, what the hell is this? And they will start to research, look, they will find how to get their money. They won't find how to get their money. And then if it's growing, then they're like, oh, it was $20, it's $40. Okay, what else is it doing? Like, but that's the mindset that we're working with. So we can't use, unfortunately, I don't want to use color or race in this, but you can't, you have black people problems trying to use white solutions. So you got to start thinking about what Black people problems are, even if it's related to other kind of countries that are similar to our problem, but we so busy saying we so privileged, and I'm like, now, boo, I mean, privilege is a long,
could you please say it
strong
again?
word.
Wait, you said it a while ago. Just say one more time again about the Black. That's the thing.
In psychology was actually designed on how the white man looks at a white woman. Right. Has nothing to do with how a white man looks at a white man. Has nothing to do with how the white man looks at a Black man. Right. It's how a white man looks at a white woman. So when you start to investigate why are these solutions not understanding the Black woman? Why they don't even understand the male? Why don't they understand like all of these other racial, cultural, other kinds of things? So again, I pull out of that to say, if you're gonna talk about economics, recognize what are the factors that we automatically associate with preventing us from getting money. When we can't get a loan, we can't, you can't live in certain neighborhoods. Those are factors that now when you talk in those factors, people are like, oh, so this can get me into these kind of places? Yes, it can. Here's why. You can't do it this way anymore because the banks don't accept you. But you know who will? Yes, if you go through the crypto route, you can. If you go to another country, they can and they will accept you. But these kinds of math, we have to bring it to our minds in a different way. Because as of right now, for what we're hearing, it sounds so elitist, as Melissa or the other person said. And I was like, well, elitist is a strong word for educated, but like it's not even about informed as much as we're trying to say, listen, 1 and 1 is 2. Keep it real simple before we get to multiplication, because right now it sounds like 2 times 2, and people like, but how do we get to 4? And we're like, because it's 2 plus. Oh, 2 plus 2 I get, but 2 times 2, where is that happening? Right. So how can I solve the simplest of things, simplest steps? And one of those simplest steps are, we are very gift-giving type of people, period. We will never do it for ourselves, but we will get the $200 snooze for the kids, for the boyfriend, cousin, mama, sister. But if that same thing was added to, you can give everything. We would give ourselves something, a better gift, if we gave something that they're investing and had them research it, than we would trying to figure it out for ourselves. That's the strongest solution that I could give you.
I love all your points. Go ahead, and then I'll chime in because you know me.
I just say, brother. Can I just say, you just said every reason why we are here, right?
Yeah. Every
single reason why Big Crypto is here. Because at the end of the day, this is what we've realized. For instance, there's a coin called Guap Coin, GUAP, developed by Sister Tavania Evans that went to Brooklyn Tech with me, right? So this coin, what coin does, it captures every place that Black people spends dollars. Right? We have this crypto industry right now. If we can leverage where we spend our dollars to say, hey, Walmart, you need to accept Guap. Target, you need to accept Guap. Why? Because these are where Black people spend dollars to, right? We can create our own economy. And that's what this is about. And unfortunately, everybody doesn't think that way. So what we do, we try to bridge that gap to where, hey, you might not be thinking along these lines. And these are deep thoughts that you're saying, that you're talking about. And this is exactly why we're all in this space, because this is what we've been taught to look at, how to view the world, right? But what ends up happening, there's a disconnect where mainstream media, where all the things that we've grown up with has been so indoctrinated in us, anything other than people don't trust. And that's the problem. That's one of the biggest problems. So for us being in this space, we've been preaching about crypto since 2017, trying to bring our people along like, hey guys, listen, this is the next frontier. This is what we need to get into. This is how we build our communities, right? But the unfortunate part is you have to bridge that gap. The only way you bridge that gap is to bring people in. So if somebody wants to come in and only have a Coinbase account, go ahead. Great. That's a way for us to at least bring you in so you can see a little bit of what it's about. But then we can dive into the deeper levels of how we can change our whole community based on what we have now. We've never had a space where the government cannot control. This is the space. And that's the proposition and the value of Bitcoin. Government can't control it. So when we operate, now, instead of having Black Wall Street where they can go to and burn down, guess what? We could have Black Wall Street on the internet, digital. Where you going to find us to burn us down?
Yeah.
That's the reality of what we're doing and why we're here as BK Crypto.
I might have to come
Because
a little
we
closer with
understand
you.
what
might
the
have
vision
to,
is.
because
you got to bring people along, and unfortunately it's slow. We've got social media. We're battling all of these platforms for viewership, for listens, for all of these things that should be innate. What's important to us in our community. I'm apolitical because of the fact that I feel like Democrats and Republicans are the same thing. They're the different wing of a different group dragon.
right.
You know, I'm not
Everybody's
trying to
very
get
red.
political, but I've gone past the political because there are higher powers that control even them. And until we look within our own community and ourselves, the bartering system, all of these things that we used to do,
Bless him.
we will not get past anything.
It is.
And that's the reality of this. And that's the importance and why we feel this industry is important. Because if it's not my kids, if it's not your kids, maybe the next generation will realize, you know what? We can create our own damn currency. We can create our own damn economy without permission from any government. That's the power of this industry.
All right, good.
Yes. When it comes to my seniors, and I'm thinking of a lot of the old committees, Bridge, one of them, when I'm thinking of AARP clubs, I'm thinking of a lot of clubs that they were considered not for profit. They could only back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe. We can't go past 2,000. We can't go past these small amounts of money that you go to. A lot of the other cultures and ethnicities, they are well above 50,000, 100, and they're like, who told you we can't go past 2,000? Because in our minds, we still stuck in the 60s, 70s, maybe 80s, that it might be time that I'm saying we're so used to hiding resources from the government, so used to hiding resources from our own family, so used to not talking about finances at the home, so used to not talking about it with friends, so used to not talking about it with church groups and this groups and that one, that maybe it might be time to consider how to almost update how you've been doing things. Because right now, only thing the government is saying is it wants to cut. For a lot of these not-for-profits or these lot of agencies who say, we can't go past these numbers, government said you can go as high as you want as long as you tell me when you get to a certain point, can I get a percentage? So if we're talking about everybody else is looking to make a little bit of money and we still trapped on we can't make any because somebody's watching us, then you've really missed the point of elevating, evolving, and getting to the next level. And it's okay that we have these fears and these concerns. And that's why I'm saying we have to start with giving these small gifts to community members. We will research how to get our money from whatever the gift card, credit, Visa, whatever these things are, we'll figure it out. We are very resourceful in figuring out how to get money. But if folks don't or they don't believe that they can have the money, or they don't believe they can migrate the money that they're already spending to what you're doing, or deserve. Talk about it. What?
Please.
Well, so here's the thing, because money has often engaged people to be envious. Money has been the cause of many fracture in a family, because having more means that you are best or you're better. Even how you present yourself in a corporate environment, right? You have to be very careful, right? Because if people think that you have too much, right? Or you're spending your money differently, it might affect how you get a bonus, right? And it's perception. I'll give you an example. Years and years ago, I didn't have a fur coat, right? And my manager said to me, well, if you don't, because we're working on Wall Street, well, if you don't have a fur coat, this is a woman giving me this advice, it looks as if you didn't get a good bonus, right? So then I looked at her and said, am I getting a good bonus?
Right.
But so people look at the outward accoutrements, which is why you have some people that have nothing in their wallets, right? But they have the nice car, they belong to the best club, they're wearing the best clothes, most fashionable, most expensive, right? I can tell you for sure, if I present my mom, and my mom's passed away, if I had presented my mom with the opportunity to buy a pair of Chanel jeans for $4,000, I can guarantee you she would sit me down and check my head. Do you have a fever? What's going on? But the really deserving it, because you're told so much that I'm not, I'm lucky. I have to be careful. All of this may be gone, right? And if you go through cycles, you're talking about traumas in families. There are families where they're boons and they're busts, right? We're in the money. We don't have any money. You have a holiday like Thanksgiving. For years and years, you could have been the person putting together the Thanksgiving basket, right? This year, you might be in need of the Thanksgiving basket, but there's too much shame in it, So having money and not having money induces this whole cycle. Are we worthy? Or how you're worthy.
100%. You listen, brother, you nailed it. Sis, you just been nailing it all day. And because they know me, I'm a financial soul healer. And what happens is that when I went through my own financial trauma, I realized that there's an underlying issue for us getting to the root of things. And so as a financial counselor, because how God leads you to healing people, is that if we can't fix the root to these things, no matter what we're educating or informing you of, it's not going to change. The whole thing of deserving versus worthy, and even at a etymology level, breaking down the words of worthiness, you have to prove yourself, versus deserving is that you deserve it because it's your birthright. That's two different energies, right? And so most of us are so indoctrinated in what we've seen in the family, what's been told to us, that yes, we can't even fathom that I am deserving of wealth because it's my birthright. So I say this with everything that you all said, and these are factors. But where do we start? We realize we can only start with those who are willing to listen. Because starting here in 2017, it was so much passion that came through us. We got burnt out because no one wanted to hear us. And what's happening now? We're getting calls now, because when you're able to see the future for your people,
even if you can't see the future, but you wish for there to be a future
100%.
Where you're prosperous and secure.
And both levels. And that level, you're doing it because you know you were chosen to help who you need to help. But what happens is you get a burnout because no one sees it. We're still here because we realize those who want to listen, and this is also through prayer, bring them to us so that we can make the change. Because the chasing doesn't work.
No. At all.
It doesn't work at all. They have to be willing for the change. And I must say, as a financial counselor and being this, I want to tell you, our baby boomers are knocking out those 40 and 50-year-olds who are still being safe. I'm telling you, they're coming, they're asking for classes and courses, they're getting wallets, they're getting Coinbases, and they're doing it for their grandkids and great-grandkids to build legacy. This is what's happening that they're not talking about. We're seeing it. They say, I don't know what this is, but something's telling me spiritually I need to do this before to maintain legacy. And as it pertains to the young kids, If we can tell you the amount of millionaires that have been made from these 14, 15, and 20-something-year-olds, because social media does have an imprint. But because they saw in mama's home that mama worked too hard and they don't make sense to me, or daddy worked too hard and I never see me, I don't want the same lifestyle. So how do I make that change? They're finding it and research it, and they're investing in coins that might not have utility, but they see it change. Doge. There are kids who literally have taken their mom's card and asked, Mom, can I get a certain amount because I want to invest in this? And because mommy's mommy, yes. And seeing that their kid portfolio from investing $100 has transferred into $1,200. Mm-hmm. My son, perfect example. My son just turned 18. He's in School of Visual Arts for film. When he did his internship with HBO, he got paid like $500 and something. I said, you got to give mommy 20%. We talk about principles, like you said, keep it in the household, and they watch you. He said, okay, Mom, I gave you 20%. I think at the time we were kind of like, we always research narratives, right? What's the main subject in investing, whether it's AI, gaming, gamification, DeFi. So I invested in the game coin. It was 7 cents at the time. In 2 months, it went to 63 cents. He saw his trust wallet, the digital wallet, turned from 200 investment to 1,200. And he says, I get it, Mom. I get it. Now that he turned 18, he got a PayPal account and Coinbase account. I can't stop him now. But listen, I did.
One of those main things about that is the hand. It is the easiest, most essential way to give it to someone who respects you. Someone who respects what you say, to tell them to invest in you. They will give you that money to invest, and then you will hold their hand through that investment. And now that they see it, they will continue. Those who do not respect you cannot listen to your voice. It is unfortunate. It is true. So now the strongest lesson from that is we can, whether it's our children, whether it's those friends, whether it's those who want to hear from us, take it, turn it, and give it back. And now you have another. And they will be able to actually talk to the person who you can't talk to easier than you.
100%.
And so the idea or the premise is we have to almost work within, yes, the network of those who will listen. Not that it's those who will listen, but those who respect what we have to say. Because a lot of people are listening. A lot of people, as my mother would say, you listening, but are you hearing me? Or you're hearing me, but are you listening? So so now recognizing the differences of people. I mean, I would go through, there's everything from your star sign to your numbers to all of that comes into a lot of different where we say who would listen to us versus who's not. Y'all stop. Like, we pretending like we ain't never heard none of these things of why people are making decisions for why we're not going to talk to you or not. But okay, yes. So if we're going to come to the people, come correct so that they can hear you, because you know they're not going to hear you if you don't come right. So why are you coming to them any old way and then still expecting for them not to hear you? If you speak loud, it don't mean anything because I don't know you. If we are friends, but are we friends though? I don't know you. I mean, unless you family, then maybe I might listen to you for that. But do I listen to you for financial? You know who they are. Stop playing with me.
Because people will show who they are based upon their behavior. And even though you may have a relationship with someone, maybe you think someone's your friend, but the friends will show up for you in ways that your good friends show up for you in ways that you never expect. And sometimes you don't feel like you deserve. And that's our relationship with money, right? If you grew up in a home where everybody was fearful of losing the money or not having any money, we all know somebody that's got a big bank book, right? And won't spend a dime on themselves, right? And at the end of the day, why are you working so hard? You're working so hard so you can be comfortable. You're working so hard that people won't have control over your life, but you can have your destiny. So it's that balance. So, you see, Uncle Joe, who got all of that money and won't spend any money on themselves, one, they devalue themselves, right? Two, they might be saving to bless someone else, but the person who they bless, will they appreciate the sacrifice? So, you develop your behavior based on what you see. You see someone, I know, there's this thing guys have with electronics and cars, right?
This thing, right? This thing.
You will walk into somebody's apartment and they will have the best new Brett's TV. The sound system is popping, and they're sleeping on a mattress on the floor, right? So if you don't have your rest and your peace and your security, what's that stuff all about? So people, you see those kinds of, right, and that's the whole thing, the priority. So, the fact that it's like, listen, mommy got in charge you a tax, give me 20%, but that 20% is going to benefit me. I don't know, but mom said, give me the 20%. When mom says, give me something, I better comply. But it's not the compliance. It's when he saw the value that's like, oh, mom was right? And by saying now he can have more trust, right?
Yes.
Now his peers, his cousins, the people he goes to school with, yo, how does this work, right?
Yep.
And you're telling them organically. So that's really, because when you say there's financial trauma, there's family trauma and money, that's an amen and hallelujah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm going to say this was a conversation we did not expect to have, right?
Okay.
The thing I would ask of all of you, and Deuce, like she's closing it out, all right? The things I would ask all of you is if you could provide one thing, somebody who has no idea what crypto is or how the market is, what reference point. Don't just say, look on the internet, because that's how you get into the rabbit hole, right? But like the basics, like this is what crypto represents. This is how it uses. This is why people utilize it. And how can you too invest in this? And once again, we're not giving financial advice. We're just now curious.
Yeah. Well, crypto represents freedom. Okay. That's really it. Okay. So, and for those who are interested in getting started, first you can contact bkcryptocoach.com. But I would say start doing some research there. And the first thing is education. So go to CryptoPanic.com. That's a crypto news aggregator. So then you'll get stories from various platforms. Again, that's CryptoPanic.com. And then beyond that, there's a lot of information on YouTube. And I would say open another email so you'd have a separate YouTube account. That's what I do, where I only consume crypto content. So that way you're not distracted into watch anything else. And teach the algorithm that you only want to view crypto content on that channel, okay? And some of the sites that you might want to follow on YouTube quickly would be like Raoul Paul, Raoul Paul. He's really, really good. Crypto Banter. You know what? Huh? Yeah, General Crypto. But let me see.
Coin Bureau.
Coin Bureau. Yeah. That's the other one. Yeah. They're really good with like explaining what's going on in the market. There's a lot of others, but you can start there. Okay, go.
I would also say this to add to that, it's really simplifying your life. Again, I like to go in astrology and numerology. If you understand your system and your code, then when you get the information, you'll know how to work it. But you have to know how to not go to the rabbit hole. Because what happens is you get so curious, you start going and following things. But if your main goal is this, I have a certain amount of money I want to invest, stick with that. I want to know where I should invest it in and leave it for the long term, or understand your goal, right? Are you in it to just figure it out to see if it works, or are you in it for a long term, right? Understand your mission and understand your goal. So the first thing is,
and understand market cycles.
Yes.
Everything does not go up all the time.
Correct.
As a matter of fact, Bitcoin will likely drop very soon, okay,
Correct.
before it goes up. Traditionally, it tends to drop around Black Friday.
30%,
So,
yep.
So a 30% pullback is not unusual, but that doesn't mean that the market is over, okay? Just be patient. Again, dollar cost averaging is the best policy, okay?
Right. You purchase low and you ride the wave. So these are some technical things, technical analysis. And I would actually advise everyone to get some basic technical analysis courses, because it's not just Bitcoin, it's actually the market in itself. And once you understand how to read the market, understand the correlation, you'll understand exactly how to enter the market, when to exit, or understanding that you're in a long-term position. So first thing, again, do some simple research. YouTube University, I love them. Coin Bureau, Raoul Paul is excellent. Open up a Coinbase account. They're regulated, they're simple. It's just like a Coinbase account is an exchange that basically sells different digital assets. You can add your bank account to it. You can add your banking card. Very simple. Understand how much you're willing to lose before you think about profit. So if you can lose $100 or $400, make it that. Figure out what coin speaks to you, invest in it, and keep learning. Keep learning.
And be realistic. And be realistic in your expectations. Set an exit, a dollar amount, or the number of X's that you hope to get, and set an exit and stick to that. Not just exit. Arrange a plan for how you will take profits. Okay. So that's not to say that you're going to wait, that you bought something at $200. You're going to wait until it goes to 10,000. No, you're going to take little chunks. Some people take half
25,
with every time it doubles, they take half out. Some people do that, but you might choose to do something different, but just take profits along the way. Do not wait. Okay.
We have stories.
I would say lastly, just definitely get the emotions in check, because
Yeah.
when it comes to this market, right, sometimes it's almost euphoric. You get into it's like a high sometimes, right? You see the money going up so quickly, right? So you can think in your mind it's going to go up all the time, right? FOMO is crazy. So it's all about having your emotions. Take out all the emotions. I mean, it's hard to really do, right? But less emotions is always better. Because emotions can actually make you make money, but it also make you lose everything as well, right? So I'll just definitely be aware of your emotions. Definitely.
And as a new investor, I do want to say, look at the market, not just the market cap, but the number of coins and the number in circulation. Because just because a coin has a low price doesn't mean it's the best thing to buy. Something that's very, very low is never going to go to $5, $10. Okay. Because if they have a ton of coins in the market, okay, you're not going to want to buy that coin. So anyway,
What she's sharing is, if you're thinking to get rich quick, this is not that. And you're going to hear some news about meme coins that 1%, it's like the same way when you're investing, playing numbers, where you're like, oh, I'm going to keep paying the lotto because I think I'm going to win big. Then you're going to basically definitely do yourself a service and lose. So if that's the game you want to play, not financial advice, that's on you. You're going to see that basically being all over the market. But if you're looking for stability, longevity, and really to expand your wealth, you want to look at the top coins and play the long game and do your research.
Ansel has something to say.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I have the mic. Guys, we also have to normalize these types of discussions in our community. Okay. That is the number one thing. We have to normalize talking about money, strategies for building wealth. We have to normalize that. And if we don't, then we're going to be exactly where they thought or think that we will be, right? Because all of this, it matters. So the more we normalize talking about it, having discussions around the dinner table with our family, friends, etc., it makes it not that hard to understand that in any market, there's no market that goes up in a straight line. But what have we been conditioned to? We've been conditioned to giving our money to a 401k, to a 403b, in building wealth, right? But we don't know the fees that's behind it. When if we normalize this, people will go out and do it on their own without all of those fees. That's the importance of this. And we have to normalize talking about building wealth within our own community. And whether you come, you go with us or whatever, find a community that talks about it so you can learn more about it. That's the importance of community, is the fact that you can go to a community and you can get different things from everybody. But it creates that book of knowledge, that library that we can fall back on. Because guess what? Investing principles are the same across stock market, gold, whatever asset you're into, whatever you're investing in, real estate, investing principles are the same. So that's the importance of normalizing this, is understanding that investing principles are the same. And regardless of where we go, what we do, if we normalize it, our kids' will understand it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Each of you guys, just to close it out, your own closure in terms of who you are and
Our own closure. That's interesting. So I'm going to just say, my name is Sharon Wedderburn. I'm a lifelong Brooklyn resident. This is the most interesting financial conversation I've had with my peers, simply because it's different, right? And one of the things that we all want to live a long, healthy, and wealthy life, because one of the things that we have learned about money is that money or assets or finances that are well organized give you the freedom to make decisions. I think I want to go to Paris next week. What do you say? Can you come with me?
Yes, and Bali next. Okay, thank you very much.
Bali.
Okay, I love it. You hit it the nail on the head. The relationship with money, right? What does money mean to you? I say it as a financial counselor, as a BK crypto coach, a financial soul healer. When we hear about money is evil, I say, what makes money evil? I said, money is an energy. It's the people behind it. And that's in everything, in every area. It's the people, it's the state of mind, it's their intentions. We have to start to clear that. Our money relationship that you said earlier is so important. And then this is the time now to really actually figure out, what is my relationship with money? And more so, what do you want to experience in life at this time? Because that money as a tool is going to help you, allow you to experience that. But also, are you looking to build and sustain legacy? So, I say I'm Reshonah Bennett, BK crypto coach, financial soul healer. I call myself a financial alchemist, because the collective is what's going to make moves. We don't have to keep thinking that it's impossible. What happens is we keep going so much in the past, we keep opening up these wounds, and nothing's ever going to heal until we think about, we know that existed, but what are we creating now? This is a new time, a new generation. We're in a year of Aquarius. And what that means in a spiritual level, it means the knowing without knowing. It's about humanitarianism. It's about technology. It's about information. We are transforming, whether you like it or not, but we are ready to go with you on that ride. It's obvious we're here moving with love. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't know how I follow that. So again, I am Kimberly Maltsby, resident of Prospect Heights for 35 years, something like that. And I love it. But I would just implore everyone to do some research. Really do some research on cryptocurrencies, actually, we didn't touch upon this, on whole life insurance. It's something else that we use, so just do some research to elevate your knowledge regarding how you can protect your finances moving forward. That's really what we're here for. So you can talk to us about it. She's already given you the contact information, and we hope that you will, take that step.
Oh, my name is Yvonne Thomas, and I just want to say, don't be afraid. I've been here in Prospect Heights for like 5 years, but I'm just saying, like she said, do your research, and if you don't, if you're afraid, if you want, need someone to talk to this young lovely lady has introduced herself to help you out in that way. So this is the wave of the future. This is where we're going. And so we got to step into it. Oh.
And myself, my name is Dillan. I think I'm going to be very blunt and just say it like this. Thank you. I'm going to be blunt and say this, like, people have ignored this for too long. I think it's time now for us to pay attention to this for a while, because it's been around for 15 years. So, and for us to think outside the box. Literally think outside the box. Again, this is a different paradigm. It's a paradigm shift. So the world has changed completely. COVID and after COVID. So I think once we're aware of this, pay attention to it, look at it for like what it is, and jump into it. Thank you.
With it.
So,
okay.
I mean, you can't see your space here.
My name is Christian Baxter.
Go ahead.
I just want to leave you with the thought. We're going to hit pandemic for just a moment. We're saying that we've got grandparents who've passed away. So whole entire wealth streams are disappearing more rapid than typical ever. And for a community that is very driven by 2 generations above, when you have whole streams disappearing, it might be time that our investments might need to shift in order to survive. When you have children who are not overwhelmed with all of the burdens of the past thinkings that don't help, or past thinkings that are, yes, to protect, but you can't get anywhere if you're so protected that you haven't moved. So it might be time to at least discover or consider that there might be time you've been traumatized just long enough to say, now, wait a minute. We don't have to, but at least for my children, they don't have to. I mean, I can still get punched in the face a couple times, but my kids don't have to. Listen. So on that regard.
Thank you.
Hello again, this is Rickie James. I would like to tell you that you should always leave a little mad money in your wallet. Mad money for you to do whatever you wish to do, to relax your mind. It's not something that you have to go full wholeheartedly to do. To keep a little mad money is not a lot of work to do.
Ansel, lastly.
Anyone else want to speak?
Ansel, you want some? Go ahead. Lastly, before we leave. Ansel?
Yeah, last thing I would just say, I appreciate the time and everything for what we are. But the number one thing is get yourself into a community that you vibe with, that your spirit takes you to, in terms of speaking on a financial level, because every community doesn't do that, unfortunately. But it's time for us to get serious about this, right? The first Trump presidency, I created 3 businesses just on the strength of the fact that we're on our own. But it can't take just a Trump presidency to do that. We have to realize that whether Democrat or Republican, we are on our own as a community. And we have to start pouring back into each other. And these are ways that we pour back into each other. Having events like this where we can discuss real topics that affects the pockets of all of us. That's the important thing to take out of this. Normalize talking about this. Normalize talking about finance. Normalize talking about building wealth. And sometimes, while we're here today, crypto is the fastest horse in the race. And that's really what it is. Crypto, AI, all these new technologies are the fastest horse in the race. And And we have to normalize talking about that so our kids and our kids' kids can understand at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's fortunate. Would I like to change this system? Yes, I would. But we have to deal with what's here and talk to the next generation so they can understand at the end of the day, you have the power to change it for the first time.
Thank you.
And that's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Well,
I just want to get the card and stuff so I can give it to my boy.
okay, we'll get that to you. Well, family, another night, a Friday night live in Brooklyn, Community Cuts. This was an interesting conversation for us. And we bring truth, we bring reality to this as well. And Community Cuts is we're going to continue to bring you truth like this. Family, whatever you do, continue to check out things, check out different informations, check out things that that are outside of the box. BK Crypto, log into them, check them out as well. And we're here to support our family here in Brooklyn. And we are Brooklynites. 40% off, 40% off on the site. Okay, Black Friday, 40% off of this wide Black Friday, 40% off.
At bkcryptocoach.com.
At bkcryptocoach.com.
No,
Black Tom.
Yeah, listen, Black.com, listen, Black.com, the new thing. You
Black-
say Black.com. You say.
At 40% off for Black Friday at bkcryptocoach.com.
It's
Okay.
the code. The code is Black Friday.
The code is Black Friday Coach 40. Black Friday Coach 40. Thank you very much.
Okay, family, you got that information. One love to the family out there and for Community Cuts as well. Thank you so much. Next Friday, we'll be here again. God bless. Oh, do not forget to support Salon Leahing. Do not forget to support Salon Leahing. They're a Black-owned business. They've been in this place. They've been in business for over 2 decades, and they are righteous. They are good. They are excellent, phenomenal hairstylists, phenomenal beauticians, phenomenal barbers. They are here, and they open their doors to us. So we're asking you support them as well. 718-230-4100, 718-230-4100, 732 Washington Avenue between Prospect Place and Park Place. We love you, family. We out of here.
Peace.
Hey.
Gratitude.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Did not
Thank
know
you.
that-
Duke is
did
never
not
on mine.
expect
I
all
thought
of
you
this,
were on
right?
this. I didn't.
But you
You know your platform. You weren't going out.